It's November, Gratitude Month at WBNL Coaching. Today, we're going to find gratitude in 2020.
On the Wandering But Not Lost podcast.
Welcome to Wandering But Not Lost, your online source for finding balance so that you can align, connect, and prosper.
I'm living right here and now, and I don't want to miss out. Is this what life's all about? The world is calling and I'm listening. Yeah, I'm listening.
And now your hosts, Jen O'Brien and Matt Emerson.
Well, welcome to November and welcome to the WBNL Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. This is episode 142. You can find all of our show notes over at WBNLpodcast.com. Jen O'Brien, we had a whole month of business planning last month, wrapped it up with a nice little bow last week. All of that stuff is available in our show notes. If you didn't catch any of that, get over there. You can still get our free business planning course as well. So great stuff. I got a lot of good feedback from that.
I love it. Now we're on to our next theme month. We have theme months for the rest of 2020.
Yes, we do.
Gratitude. We historically have always talked about gratitude in November. And, you know, honestly, just to kick it off, Matt, I see you're wearing your beautiful I Am Grateful shirt that is available in the WBNL store.
Yes, it is.
You do have links in the show notes, I'm certain
Absolutely.
about that. So I was really working hard yesterday on finding the gratitude in the reality of finally figuring out why did I not get my shipment of my gratitude shirt and
right.
I had ordered. And so Matt's like, go back and check. And so I go back and from the Spreadshirt place we use, it says, hey, that was delivered on October 28th. And I'm like, what? So I had a little conversation with our mail lady yesterday who was really bummed and said, I'm very diligent in making sure I do this. I take my job serious. I don't know what could have happened. I do things, she was telling me all these things, but the bottom line is someone got my package.
Right.
It went into the wrong parcel box. And I'm still struggling with this gratitude thing, but I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
The gratitude of seeing if there's another way around it. Do I post something? It's not like it's a lost kitten or something. But it's a couple different people that are nearby. Do I go knock on their doors and say, hey, have you just not had a chance to return my package?
Return my
swag. Or here's maybe where the gratitude is. All right, I'm going to be grateful that whoever needed the t-shirts and the
hoodie,
nice cozy hoodie needs it more than I do, and they're going to walk around and they're going to advertise WBNL coaching. So boom, there's my gratitude.
It's funny you should say that, because I was telling the story to Sweet Bee yesterday and I said pretty much the same thing. I said, well, in the big picture here, someone's going to be walking around with the WBNL shirt on. So I guess it's not so bad. Yeah. You're listening to the Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. Join us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and now on YouTube.
Too. And that is really a good kickoff to this whole idea of finding gratitude. And there's so many things to be grateful for. And I know all of us have gone through so much in this past year. Hopefully you're still healthy, or you didn't have anybody that actually died from coronavirus, or
right.
by now we all know someone, or we personally have dealt with.
You're a few degrees of separation away for sure. There's no way.
I keep hearing of more and more people who have struggled with getting the virus and recovering from it, and I think I don't know anyone personally who has died. I think you do, though, right, Matt?
Well, I just I know someone's brother who passed away, so that's pretty close.
So when we generally talk about gratitude this time of year, we have our show notes in there, and we're going to just switch it up a little bit this time, and Matt and I are going to share a little bit about what we've done to sit and do a bit of an exercise around, and we're going to share with you that we think you should all do the same thing. Our recommendation is, if you haven't already done it, and I bet a lot of you already have, because we've been saying on the podcast, there's a couple ways to go with this all year since March, right? At the beginning of this year, if we think back to the beginning of the year, January and February in the housing industry, but just overall, we're looking pretty good, right? And things were like, wow, this is going to be a good year for our business. And then March happens, right? And the shutdowns and the quarantine comes in, and everybody's in a like, what do you mean a pandemic? What does that really mean? Is this like things that we've seen in the past? And It's not really going to impact us. I think there's a lot of people going, this is not really going to impact us. But now we've lived with it for how many months now? What is
Too
it?
many.
Too many months. And there's people who have different opinions of it, mostly because what we just talked about. What I haven't really seen it impact me or whatever. So therefore, it's not that big of a deal. I don't need to wear a mask, all these different things. But the bottom line is it's impacted the world. It's impacted our country. It may have impacted you financially. There's people, especially in our state here in Nevada, we have a higher unemployment rate. Sure. I mean, the repercussions are here and they're going to be here for a while. And the virus is still here until we get a vaccine. So we've had to deal with that. But we've talked through this whole podcast how the real estate industry, the housing industry, has really buoyed the United States and kept things going, right? And that's been a blessing. So that's something for everyone that's listening that's related to the real estate industry. I think that has to be a number one gratitude that you're in an industry that wasn't as heavily impacted. Whether or not you're sitting here going, yeah, but whatever, I can't do open houses, so therefore my business sucked this year. That's your issue. I'm sorry. Everybody I talk, I'm sorry, not sorry, because that's on you. There are so many people that I talk to that are in our coaching program that have said, wow, I've had like the craziest best year. Why? Because they actually embraced what was happening. They pivoted, they made the changes, and they're doing fine.
You know, it's so funny, Jan. So it seems to me so many people are programmed and it's so much easier for them to find the negative in things than the positive things. And I think you're speaking to a really good point. To complain about anything that changed in your business is really your own deal, because the business has not really has still continued to be strong, and in a lot of ways stronger than they thought that 2020 was going to be, because there was the talk in January and February that we were going to see a slowdown this year a little bit. Sure. You know what I mean? So it's interesting.
Yeah, and the market was shifted because the inventory was low, but the demand was high. And even during March 17th, when we shut down in Nevada, we were still making sales. Okay, They were slower. They were about cut in half for about a month, but then we quickly rebounded. It was a true V-shaped recovery for the housing industry in most parts of the country. There are a few parts of the states that had a little bit more restrictive. I was talking to a client in California talking about, we still can't do open houses here because it's shut down. All right, but there's still tons of business going on. Okay, so before we jump into sharing some more things we're grateful for, because I want to expand a little bit on, because that's one for me is being in the real estate industry and the decisions I made is what a big gratitude for me. But there were a lot of other things. So we had everything related to COVID-19, the cases, the shutdowns, how that impacted us financially as a country in the world, the economy. We had major racial tensions in the country, the Black Lives Matter really coming to the forefront, which frankly, that's all really showing up now. I feel when the dissection of the election is really, the presidential election is going to really be interesting to see where did all the votes come from,
right?
And who was energized to vote. We had that. And then we had all the things related to, what am I trying to say? The fires and the hurricanes.
Just weather related, natural.
Weather related, but just the whole thing. What's the political thing that everybody wants to say? That
climate
change. Thank you.
There we go.
Climate change. I don't know why it was like not coming out, but whatever. There's no climate change, but we continue. Australia brush fires. That was devastating. All the animals that were lost.
Absolutely.
How about the West Coast? Not just California. Are you still burning in California?
There's always fires in California now. I mean, that literally there's a part of California that has been on fire for years now, actually.
Yeah, but there's more now this year. The entire West Coast and into Colorado. The hurricane season again. I think we're on track to have maybe one of the top 1, 2, or 3 hurricane seasons that hit the U.S. And then
when you get into the Greek alphabet with the hurricanes, you had a effed up year.
Totally. And then, of course, culminating in what we're going through right now as we record this, we still don't have a declared president. And that just really is the icing on the cake, isn't it, in this year?
Yeah.
I mean, but however, there is in all of this, this is what we're talking about today. Where are the little nuggets of hope and gratitude? And that's what I really want to share. So let's share our gratitudes, okay? And this is the challenge for everybody listening is, take time today or in the next couple days, or in this month of November, and sit down and really write out at least 5 things. I bet there's more than 5, but what if you could come up with 5 things that you really are thankful for and grateful for? And I really do believe everybody has already had this exercise kind of in their head, but
Right.
there's such power in just sitting down. We did business planning last month. We talked about goals. Now it's time to really put your mind and your intention into making things happen in your life. And that is what we're going to cover a lot of in this month and going into December. We have a great tool that we love that we created several years ago called My Path. And that's more on your life stuff. It's more, a little more life coaching stuff that we're going to do. And Matt and I haven't talked about updating that, but maybe we can put some fresh spins. There's a couple things in there that I absolutely love that I use every year for myself that we'll get into that next month. But we're going to finish talking about gratitude. But I'll start, Matt, with this first one. And I am grateful to be in the real estate industry. I haven't always 100% embraced and liked everything about it, but I like that. This is what I love about what happened this year and help me define that. First of all, I am grateful. I've said it so many times, to be in the industry that was able to continue to work on.
That's right.
You know, I had to make some major changes. We made some major changes in the middle of all this. And I'm grateful for being able to have some clarity about simplifying my life. And it was the pandemic that really did it for me. It was the reality of I can't continue to do everything and hope it's all going to work out. And I need to simplify and I really do think I'm living by this rule now. And we have a lot of it in our training and coaching, is that less can be more.
Right.
You know, simplifying my life was, I don't need to be a broker anymore or an owner. You know, we kind of dissolved and went our separate ways in our brokerage adventure, but it was such a great decision personally for me and for our partner. It really, in hindsight, because I wanted to just simplify my life, focus on our coaching, our coaching company, and build my team. And that has been incredibly successful on both fronts. So that is my number one gratitude related to business that I wanted to share today.
That's really good.
How about for you?
Well, you know, I think anybody that's listened to the show over the last 6 months knows, or 8 months, knows that during all this COVID crisis, I was having a personal family crisis of my own, with my mother actually quickly retreating into dementia and Alzheimer's. And it was a very hard time for me. And I was back in Florida for 3 months, away from my family here in California, and just dealing with all of the decisions and everything that had to be done. And I'm an only child, and, you know, so I didn't have siblings to fall on. I am so grateful for the support system that I have, which I always knew was there. I did. But my family and my friends and my business partners, I mean, you know, just think, I mean, I thought about this a lot while I was back in Florida, because here I am, you know, literally many days doing nothing except for trying to just figure out what to do with my mother and to take care of her on a daily basis. And everyone understood what was going on. I didn't get pressure from anyone because I wasn't either carrying my weight or doing something I should have been doing or whatever it is. And it's just amazing. So that is my number one thing I'm grateful for. And like I said, not that was ever taken for granted, but it just shone like a beacon this year. So that's my number one.
I hear you. And the theme is the clarity that has come out of all of it. So you got validation and clarity about something you already knew, but in a bigger way, because it got tested. This has tested us. It's tested us.
Grateful in a whole different way, because it's interesting, because of all of that and the relationships and the conversations and everything that happened during that period of time in my life only made the bond stronger, which is pretty amazing, because I thought they were strong anyway. But I feel like it's completely different now than it was, you know, back in, when did I leave? May 24th. Never forget the date. So, it's an amazing thing. And I look back on those 3 months now, and a lot of it is starting to just kind of meld into one thing. You know what I mean? For a while there, it felt like it was 9 years, but now it just feels like I wasn't back there 3 months.
But would you say, I don't want to steal your thunder, but I would imagine if I try to be in your shoes for a minute on that, you had to have, we talked about it while it was happening. There had to be, and I came from my own personal stuff about being able to spend time with my mom. There had to be gratitude that you got to spend that much time with your mom.
That's exactly right.
Right?
Yeah. Oh my God. See, a lot of my great things on my list are all really intertwined. And I'll
Yeah,
just,
absolutely.
while I'm talking about it, just kind of go into it. Yeah, absolutely. I'm luckiest man on the earth to spend those 3 months with my mother while she was still actually pretty good in May. And then by the time I left in September, she still knew who I was, but it was a whole different ball game. So I'm so grateful I had that time with her. It's just, I'm just so fortunate for that. So absolutely that. But then it gets even deeper. It goes into these people that are the caregivers in these facilities.
Yeah.
And medical, all of the frontline workers in hospitals. I mean, oh my God, are you kidding me? I mean, everything had changed so much in all of these facilities and with all of these job functions and all of the procedures, and everyone just freaking did it. You just step up and you just make it work because that's what you do. So I can't even begin.
I carry on that one because it's on the list too of being grateful for the people that do put their lives on the line, from
And they are
the
doing
doctors and the people taking care of all the sick people, but
Yeah.
even the police and the folks, and for all of that and all the unrest that's been in our country. I am grateful for that, and that's part of being grateful and having I want to save that one because there's a renewed sense of feeling good about our country right now for me. But I want to stick with the one I had partnerships on my list too, and friends. And I think that this, again, it's basically the whole microscope is put on your life under the pressures that we've gone through as a country, as a world, as an earth, and then all the way down to us as individuals in our units of people that we do things with in our life, our little groups, our soul groups even. And I feel that I strengthen relationships with my partnerships like you, my team, and the closest friends that I have.
Yep.
I re-engaged with a friend that's back that was always my childhood friend, Eileen. And we're finding that she's also moving to Florida. And it was like, wow, we're coming full circle. And her mom is in a facility in Atlanta, and she's unable to see her this whole time. So we rebonded over all these things and stuff to share about. So that's another one that's on my list.
And let me piggyback on that because I think our lists are going to be rather
similar.
I think probably everyone's lists are going to be relatively
I agree.
Similar. Mm-hmm. On my list was about reconnecting with a lot of people who I had kind of fallen away from, all the way back to people from high school. And a lot of this does happen online on social media. And, it's funny, social media be more than almost anything, because that's where we do connect. We have for years now, that is kind of the place. Talk about a dumpster fire of division. Holy crap. That was just a crazy place, but it was so awesome to be able to, even people that believe and have ideals completely different from yours, to be able to still come together and bond. It was to me, the winner in this whole thing has been the kindness and caring of real human nature, not the people on the fringe, but the real 80% of the people that sit there are really not on that. We focus on the hysterics, right? We don't really focus on it.
It gets all the attention, and it's really not the majority.
And it's been really, now with that said, there's been a few people that I have disconnected with this year just because. Yeah, because you just have to, right? Exactly. Because it's not one way or the other. And I think that whole idea of just being able to see past that and see that people, not their politics or their ideals, is so important. And I am really grateful for the people that I have in my life that are different from me in their ideology, but we have such strong bonds. And like I said, a lot of people I've just reconnected with this year. So it's amazing. And I don't know what caused all that. I don't know if it was a divisiveness. I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know you don't know, but it's certainly
a great point because, you got me. So Matt and I were talking about Hamilton, the musical. It's on Disney, and I had watched it. I got to see it here in Vegas and then watch it with the original cast on Disney. And you watched it again. You and your wife, Laura, watched it again. And then I got listening to, there are songs in my head right now. Wait For It is the song that's in my head right now. And so I started watching it again. But when I was watching it recently, it just really brings you the historical perspective of what this whole country has gone through. And when you go back and the founding fathers, and there was this basis of our country that you can have differing opinions. And if you're not careful, it can be so divisive that it creates a civil war, and it does this. And that's what we've been living through these couple hundred years now. And, culminating in a lot of things that came to pass in this year. But if we really get back to the roots of what it means to be an American and to be here, I feel hopeful and grateful that maybe you have to go through this darkness before the storm and the chaos to get back to those roots. I don't know. There's a lot of healing that has to happen. But to this point that you're making, that we make a difference individually with our people that we know. Their families are divided, but they don't have to be divided. I have people in my family that voted different than how I voted. It doesn't mean we love each other less. We just have to be careful in what we talk about, because everybody's very passionate about what they believe. Yeah. And I can accept that, but it doesn't change how I feel about the people I care most about if we can all respect each other, right? And I think that's where we have to start.
That's exactly right.
You just said it, right? How about this one? Health, really, clearly. Okay, so you mentioned, you're dealing with your mom, but honestly, being grateful to be healthy and to have the majority, just pretty much everybody in my family be healthy, is also something I'm highly grateful for. I had a bit of a scare, but I had two members of my immediate family test positive, but recover fine. So, in the big scheme of things, when you look at the percentages and the numbers, and we're not through it yet, I'm grateful for my own health and the health of my friends and family.
No, that's really good. Very, very good. Hey, yeah, just to, during the quarantine and during the isolation and everything, I can say that I'm really grateful for being able to have an environment that my wife and I have built over the years, and my relationship with my wife, for crying out loud, to where it was comfortable. It was almost nice. I'm not going to say it was a vacation, but because it wasn't, but it was kind of assuring that we have built something that was
enduring.
It was a very nice and comfortable and safe kind of environment. I'm grateful for that, because I know that a lot of people don't have that in their lives, and I am not going to take that for granted. I can say my wife's a school teacher, and when she was last year at the end of school, they were doing the online learning, and then we had summer. Of course, I was gone all summer long. I literally missed her entire summer vacation. Then they started school again with home learning again. But her district actually went back to the classroom about a month ago now, and I miss having her in the house, and I miss having her here, and I was grateful that we had that opportunity to do all of our stuff together, and like I said, I know that everyone's situation is very, very different, but I just have a lot to be grateful for this year, I guess, is what the bottom line.
In some ways, so, one thing about what you're saying there is you guys are very big about planning these really awesome getaways and nature and parks and your trips to New York and so forth. And that has been heavily impacted this year with not only COVID, but your mom and all that. However, I think you found ways to, and you will going forward, you found other ways to go do things, even if it was just a day trip. I mean, it's important for you. It's important for all of us, but for you in particular, it's very important to get up and get out. That's one of our core principles. Being out coaching, but you found other ways, right? And that it's like you don't take for granted what you were just talking about, your relationship and
absolutely
who is in your life. And to me, to piggyback on that one, when I said in the top of sharing what I'm grateful for, it was this clarity of it's not about continuing. Too much of my focus in my life has been about career and just going to the next thing and working all the time and being a bit of a workaholic.
That's right.
The relationships in my life are what came to the forefront. And as I'm getting older now and wanting to be the theme in my family was my sisters. There's 4 sisters, and we have a bit of an outcast brother. Maybe eventually we'll be able to bring back into the fold. But the 4 of us want to grow older together and closer. And this pandemic really made that happen. My sister who lives here was thinking about doing that in a couple of years. Well, she's already moved. I got her house on the market. It's sold. She's out of here by December.
Yep, that's awesome.
I made the decision to go move to Florida and start my team there. This all happened just in March. This decision that I wanted to focus on our company and do coaching, and now we have clients happening again. We're working with some companies to do some things in our company that we hope will come to fruition. Where this podcast is part of that. I'm always grateful for this podcast. It's the highlight of my week, frankly. And you, Mr. Emerson, for all the things that you do. But the idea of being able to be around my family, I have a sister in the North Tampa area in Wesley Chapel, and we've already looked into where to set up a business and get going with that. I was just working on my application yesterday. These things are all happening, and the movement is forward. And this is the thing I want to end with on today on this little piece. And I'll share just a couple notes in the show notes today, is that when you get your head around all that, for me, to sum up, clarity of really what's important. We just mentioned all the key things. When it comes down to it, all this other stuff on the outside is not what's important. Fast forward to another time, there'll be other events, there'll be other things, hopefully not a pandemic, but it's really about people and relationships and the love that you find and that you give. Isn't that really what it's all about?
Absolutely.
And it can come in many different ways, but that's what's important. And that's what we're all hopefully most grateful for. And then you set your intentions and you start moving towards what it is you want, and then everything starts lining up. And that is what I have to say. If you really do this, this is where it is. And you don't want to do this and you want to stay in the dark space, then you just attract more of that into your life. So just stop and start with this gratitude thing. And the two things that we have in here for you today, you can go check it out. There's two ways to practice gratitude. One is just to simply do it every day, in the morning and the evening. Have a simple gratitude journal, have some links to resources. You could get an app. And the other way is to pay it forward, sharing gratitudes with other people.
That's right.
Writing notes to other people. Show your gratitude in little ways every single day, and that will help you stay in that space of gratefulness.
It's awesome. Goes back to what we talk about all the time, that you're writing a personal note. This is a way to actually implement that in a way that can really affect people's lives. I write my sweet pea a note and put it in her lunch every day. And while I was home during the time she was homeschooling, I would sneak downstairs, because I work upstairs and she's downstairs, around lunchtime, and I would put a note on the table. So I haven't missed a note to her during a school day, probably in, I don't know, 3 years.
Well, I think that is the coolest thing. I have stayed at your home and seen said notes that she has sent to you and you have sent to her that you guys keep and you kind of have. And so that right there is probably one of the lasting and powerful things in your relationship. Absolutely. That makes a difference. I mean, it makes a difference. I mean, speaking of little notes, I had a pad of paper that I finally had to throw away that my little niece, Savannah, when we all were together, or she was, for some reason, we were staying together like years ago. She went into the pad of paper and just wrote little notes to me. Hi, Jan, love you,
That's so awesome.
And I would just be randomly coming across things in this whole last year when I finished up that pad of paper. And it was from my niece, Savannah, who just is a school teacher now, graduated her first year as a school teacher in Utah. And unbelievable. I still have some of them. I don't want to throw them away. Just like you don't throw them all away, right? There's some.
Right? Oh my God, no. We have. It was so funny. Well, okay, I digress. I don't need to tell every story that I have because I got 1,000 stories.
But come on, you just shared a simple thing that you can do. Write a little sticky note to your person in your life or your kid or whatever. I know people that do that with their kids, and it's in the lunchbox.
I will tell this story. Last year, I talk about my sweet pea a lot. She and I believe this with all my heart. She's one of the best teachers on the planet. She reaches kids in a way that a lot of people don't, because she really cares about the kids. That's what it's all about. It's not about the testing. It's not about the scores, even though she, has the highest scores in Orange County. But that's a whole nother. But I digress. There was a child.
Laura.
There was a kid in her class last year that was a little bit on the spectrum. And Laura always tells the story in math that she had the hardest time when she was growing up with the multiplication of 8 times 7. And she said that the number 56 haunts her to this day. Okay. And every time this little kid just glommed onto that, and she would bring up every time there'd be a 8 and a 7 anywhere in anything. She'd like, Mrs. Emerson, there's an 8 and a 7. Somehow, towards the last day of school last year, she was in the classroom when Laura wasn't there, and she wrote 56 in the corner of the chalkboard, or the dry erase board, in about 4 different places. And Laura didn't see it until she just went back to school last month.
Oh my God.
She was like, oh my God, that is the most awesome thing, right? She'll never take those off those dry erase boards. She will never do it unless someone's in there just erasing the boards. But just talk about reaching someone. And then that little thing that girl did was so impactful. You know what I mean? Because not only did Laura love the fact that she did that, but that made it, that made Laura have a whole new appreciation. She was more grateful for what and really understood how she impacts kids. So I mean, I'm telling you, people,
I know
you can
endless stories there.
You can find gratefulness if you just freaking look for it. And you just have to look for it
every single day, no matter how bad the day.
Right. Absolutely.
So start and end your day with what you're grateful for. It can just be one thing, and write it down. Write it down. Get a little journal. There's an example of a great journal. I'm still a fan of this show, Callie and Jeff. They definitely feel their lives were changed because of everything they talk about with gratitude. And it doesn't matter. Just get a little notepad and write it down, or get an app, or just end your day. Even if you don't feel like recording it, can you end your day with, wow, this was a crazy day. It's very easy for us to go, because Matt, you're a sounding board for me. I was like, oh my God, this happened and this happened and this happened. And you know what? You got to vent and get it out.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm going to do better starting today is to vent it out and then come back to focusing before you go to sleep at night. And even when you wake up, what's something that you're grateful for? And I think that can change everything. It can change how your rest of your day is, how your night is, your sleep is, waking up, having a more positive attitude, and ready to deal with whatever is going to come your way that day.
Good point.
All right. So this is the beginning of our gratitude month. Coming up, what are we going to do? We're going to share ideas of ways that you can touch your clients and people in your life with some of this gratitude and giving back and great client connections. I forget what's the other thing we're going to talk about. It's something else. We have two more shows, and then we're going to take Thanksgiving Day off, or Thanksgiving weekend off.
That's right. And be grateful for what we have going on during Thanksgiving. So, you're listening to the Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meet. Join us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, and now on YouTube. Well, it looks like that is a wrap for the Wandering But Not Lost podcast, where real estate and reality meets, episode 142. You can find all of our show notes over at wbnopodcast.com. John O'Brien, I am going to kind of ape the kind of the attitude of my girlfriend, Nicole Wallace, for a moment. 2020 was a complete shit show. It was.
She said that.
She didn't say that, but she was using profanity, right? Okay. So I just feel as though I wanted to say that and follow her lead over the airwaves, because it was a shit show. But there is a lot of gratitude you can find in there. And while we're doing our list of gratitudes and things we're grateful for, I didn't want to throw these superficial things in there, but I'm going to tell you something. Superficial things that you're grateful for also do calm your soul and make you kind of live in the moment a little bit better. And I'm going to tell you 3 things that I am grateful for.
Okay.
Superficial. Well, one, streaming services. I think everyone in the world will be on their list, because that has kept them pretty much entertained for the last 9 months.
I agree with that one.
Streaming services of any kind. I have discovered a love and actually a need for brioche buns. So brioche buns, I am very grateful.
Made your list?
Because we go to Sprouts, they have great brioche buns there, and when they're not there, because they're out of them a lot, when they're not there, it makes me very sad. I am not grateful when they are not there. And the third thing I am grateful for, in a very, very superficial way, is the Wink Weather app, because Wink News in Fort Myers is the weather authority. And the Wink News weather app has kept me, alive in some situations, literally, for years now, because it is probably one of the best weather reporting apps you can get out there. So if you're looking for a good weather app, even though they are based in Fort Myers, Florida, download the Wink Weather app, because you can switch it to your own area, and you get the latest and most up-to-date information.
Oh my God, there you go. Those 3 simple gratitudes. I agree with them all too, by the way.
Yeah.
There is something about a brioche bun.
They're delicious.
And then it makes you, you're the cook in the house right now. So what do you cook? What do you make?
I swear to God, everything tastes better on a brioche bun. Everything tastes better. I'll tell you one thing that really tastes better on 2 things. First of all, your basic old BLT tastes really, really good on a brioche bun. But also a fried egg sandwich. I don't know if you're a fried egg sandwich fan, but holy crap. They taste like heaven on a brioche bun. So I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I have some eggs. You're making me think I'm going to go. I was thinking about making egg salad, and it would go best on a brioche bun.
I'm telling you. I'm very
Okay.
thankful for your friends.
All right, it's going on the list to the store today. That is awesome. Well, we hope you guys are feeling grateful. And by the way, that awesome shirt, I am grateful. If you want to show your gratitude, you can walk around and talk about being grateful. That's going to help you with your mindset. Go on over to our store and get you one of these I am grateful shirts. I'm
That's
going to be
right.
ordering another one because apparently our neighbor needs to go be our walking billboard, and I am grateful for that person who still has it. You know what's going to be an interesting end to that story is I'm holding hope that somebody opened the package and it's just sitting in the mail lady said to me, sometimes people take the package and intend to return it, and it just sits on their pile of stuff and they never go into it.
Yeah.
So it's either they really need it and they're going to walk around, people are going to be like, what's that? Or eventually it'll show up at my house because the address on the package is still there. But I will be ordering new ones today. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and beach to the punch on my calling me out on my did I do my task.
Just getting ready to do that.
I knew you were. So I will tell you that the day is not done. This is the first thing that we started today. I am committed to finishing my task of my closing report for my team by the end of the day. I have gathered all the information. It just needs to go into a spreadsheet. It will be done, and I will text you when it's done today.
And if you don't, you'll be getting a call tomorrow morning.
Fair enough.
Okay, now if you made it to this point in the podcast, first of all, thank you very much.
Really, we've been that long here. We're rambling today.
I really appreciate that you did that, and you're going to be the first to know that we are starting a cyber promotion in November, that between now and November 30th, if you go to our store over at wbnlcoaching.com and use the coupon code CYBER2020, you will get 30% off any of our incredible training products. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about that throughout the month, but if you'd like to get the jump start on that, because you are a committed podcast listener, 35 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
you
could have led with that. November sale, 30% off anything in our store.
Well, it didn't seem like that was a very grateful thing to start the show with. So,
we are grateful to our listeners, and we're going to work with that deal.
We
are.
So
you're not going to hear about it unless you're on our list and you see our social media or you get our email later.
Good point. All right. Any other closing words, Jen O'Brien?
No, I'm just grateful.
I know. I am too. And you know what I'm really looking forward to as things start winding down with COVID, which still a ways off, is getting back out and doing some wandering. So as always, get up, get out, mask up, breathe, and kind of just calm down a little bit, people, and be forever wandering, but not lost.
See you next week.